This is Mary and Mela with the Hometown Legends podcast series, and we want to say welcome and thank you for joining us. Today's special guest is Coach Chucky Brown, someone who played at NC State and was drafted in the second round of the 1989 NBA draft. Coach Chucky Brown, thank you for joining us here today on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Most definitely, Coach. To break the ice, I'd like to ask you a icebreaker question. And being that you was a player as well, um, did you have any pregame rituals? And if so, what were they, sir?
My only pregame ritual I would say was I had to get me at least a 2 hour nap before a game, and when I woke up, I had to have me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich with strawberry jelly and extra crunchy peanut butter. That was it.
The extra country peanut butter is a little different, but okay. I can definitely see the net, but I don't know about the peanut butter.
Yeah, it's Jif. Only Jif makes the extra crunchy. Peter Pan has crunchy. Everybody else has crunchy. Jif has extra crunchy. So I go with the extra crunchy.
Okay. Now, growing up in New York City, what was the difference of growing up in New York, having to come down to Raleigh, North Carolina, which is a smaller city, but definitely a lot slower than New York? I mean, was there any differences, any, hurdles that you had to come over?
Actually, we moved down to a smaller town called Navassa, North Carolina, and yeah, it was some hurdles to climb. Moving down where in New York, you got the bus or the train you can hop on to get anywhere. Moving down to North Carolina, either you had to have a driver's license or a bike or a friend with a driver's license. So, as far as like getting around, um, like back then. I think also like getting access to certain things like you could get in New York, you couldn't get anywhere else. I think that's changed. I think you could get anything you want anywhere now, but back then that was back in the mid '80s. Um, you could only like you had to go to New York for certain things and come back down here. But yeah, that was probably the biggest hurdle was getting around, being able to go somewhere. You had to have either you had a friend with a car and a driver's license, or you had to have a bike because the transit they didn't have no transit authority down here, so it was
Right.
a little different.
And you said growing up and leaving, right? Would you speak about like basketball growing up there? What brought you to the sport of basketball?
Well, what initially brought me there was I tried to play football and I broke my fingers, so I was like, man, I can't be out here breaking nothing up. And played baseball. I got hit with the ball and was like, dude can't be hitting me with the ball and I can't hit him back. So let me go play, go try basketball. And then I grew. So I found a love for basketball after the previous two sports didn't work out like I wanted them to. But yeah, I found a love for basketball. Always played on the park in the park with my friends, and when I moved to North Carolina, came down and got roughed up by the older dudes, and it just became like it was a challenge. So you just wanted to accept that challenge.
And while growing up, was there anybody that necessarily inspired your game, your style of
Um, Growing up, yeah, I mean, growing up, I can remember like being a young dude, liking Dr. J. Marcus Johnson was another guy that I really loved. I grew up, when I was living in New York at the time, um, I was the only one in the neighborhood that was a Milwaukee Bucks fan. Everybody else liked the Sixers because the Knicks were bad at the time. So we didn't nobody really liked the Knicks, but Marcus Johnson, I could say, once I got down here and got to high school, I was more of a James Worthy fan, Buck Williams. So that's why I wore the number 52 was more so James Worthy, what was my favorite player. And he went to North Carolina. I went to North Carolina State, so I never really told that until later because big rivalry down here. And not growing up down here, I didn't really pick a side. You got to pick a side down here. I figured that out.
Marcus Johnson, James Worthy, you said
Yeah.
two names, great players, role players that spent a substantial amount of time in NBA, and both are NBA champions as well. What was it
Right.
about both of their games that made you, that attracted you to their styles of play?
Marcus Johnson was just, how smooth he was. He was pretty much unstoppable. He could shoot, he could take it to the basket, he could post up. I just loved, his style of play. James Worthy, I loved the way he ran the floor, and that he was a finisher. On the fast break, you got it to him, and he's gonna do the Statue of Liberty joint and dunk it on you. You know what I'm saying? So James Worthy, I was a big fan of him. And then when I got to play with the Lakers, I got to watch him play and watch him work, and that I became even more of a fan of him. Once I played for the Lakers with him.
Growing up competing, you had the opportunity to compete and play as a youngster in New York and North
Hmm.
Carolina. Would you speak about what you took from playing in New York and in North Carolina that you developed to your game or helped your game?
I think growing up in New York, it helped me as far as like we had to play outside, so we wasn't really shooting a whole lot of jump shots. So everything was taking it to the basket. So my game was, early game was predicated on taking it to the basket. I think once I moved to North Carolina, we could play outside, but it didn't seem as windy or something like that down here. So we shot jump shots. I was able to work on my jump shot when I came down here. And just like, North Carolina, New York, the difference is, I think it's, I would say like being in the inner city, you learn to have, or you tend to have a little more grit. No disrespect to anybody in North Carolina, but I think the grit, and the toughness came from New York City, and I think like the patience, because I think I got a good mix of both. The patience came from being in North Carolina. Like you don't let like New York. New York people are a little more emotional. So I think my emotions got a little bit more tempered when I came to North Carolina, because like in New York, it's like you say something, somebody's like, what? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, they're
Whereas
very aggressive.
very aggressive. So I think I got a good mix, because in North Carolina, it's like, you say something, huh? What'd you say? Say that again. It's like you take time to process it, where in New York, you just kind of jump right into it. So I think
Mhm.
I had a good mix of both. And I think that's helped me as, as a person as well.
Right, right. Now, coming out of high school and finding a college that would fit your style of playing, what encouraged you to pick NC State as the college to attend?
To be honest with you, when I came to North Carolina, my high school coach used to work NC State's basketball camp. I was, like I said, I was a James Worthy fan. Jimmy Black went to my high school in New York, Cardinal Hayes. Jimmy Black went there. So when Carolina played Georgetown in 1982, I was pulling for Carolina because Jimmy Black was from the Bronx, and so I was pulling for him. I came down here, and my high school coach took me to NC State, and Jim Valvano was from Queens. Ray Martin was on the staff. He was from Queens. Ernie Myers was a player. He was from Harlem. Grew up in Harlem. We had Lorenzo Charles was here from Brooklyn, and it was just like they kind of paired me with them, and it was kind of like coming from New York, being new down here. I kind of gravitated to people that were from where I was from, and that was I didn't know anything about NC State, to
Right.
be honest with you. Valvano was from Queens. The whole staff was from New York. And when I
Okay.
came up on the visit, they paired me with Lorenzo Charles. One day
Hmm.
I had Spud Webb, another day. But it was just I was just comfortable
Right.
around people that came from where I came from, and that was it. I didn't
Hmm.
like look at style of play or nothing like that.
And
I
it's
basically made
it was
myself comfortable.
relatable for you, I'm
Yeah,
sure,
that's it. That's it. That was all it, because I knew nothing about the school.
Okay. And then whenever you coming out of NC State, you went second round of the NBA draft in 1989. Just to even hear your name called, how did that feel? Give us the whole
Uh,
rundown.
I could remember sitting. It was myself, my mother, my father was there, and my cousin Hank was there, and we were just sitting in the room, and I remember the phone rang. I can't remember who got picked around 41, but the phone rang, and it was Wayne Embry, who at the time was the general manager of the Cavaliers, and they said, "Well, if you're there when we pick, we're gonna take you." So the 42nd pick came, and I didn't get called, and then next thing you know, my name got called. It was very exciting. Um, Also, like I did have a little bit of a feeling like some guys went ahead of me that I felt like I was better than. So I felt like I was excited, but I also felt like I got a point to prove too. So it was a little bit of, I mean, you was happy, of course, but a little bit of anger there too, because some dudes were in front of you that you gave them some business, and people thought that they were better than you, and you were like, "Well, I'm better than them." So I felt like I had something to prove as well, but I was very happy.
And you, along with a couple of other players, you set the record of playing on the most NBA teams. Did you
Right.
have a favorite organization? And if so,
Um,
go
Go
ahead.
ahead. No, 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 no. Go ahead. I didn't let you finish. My bad. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. And if so, I guess what was the most valuable thing that you learned from playing on that specific organization?
I have to say, let's see. I definitely, would say the Houston Rockets was my favorite. Although I liked every organization because it was a job, but Houston Rockets was my favorite. And the thing that made it my favorite was that we had guys that, knew their role and knew their jobs. And yeah, we may have had some, you know, fights, locker room fights and all that, but when it was time to go out and play, we took care of business. So it was like nobody knew, what was going on behind the scenes because we went out and played for one another despite like we didn't hang out off the court
Mhm.
much. I think I might have hung out with Kenny a few times. I might have hung out with Sam a little bit, but for the most part, guys went their separate ways. When we came to practice and came to games,
Mhm.
we took care of business. So I think that would be, my favorite spot. I really loved New Jersey as well. Being from New York, being back home,
Right.
and a lot of your friends able to play. I enjoyed that, and I enjoyed like Chuck Daly. I enjoyed Lenny Wilkins. So there were a lot of organizations that I enjoyed playing for, but I got to say the Rockets because of the guys' mentality. I
Mhm.
think that was what made it one of my favorites.
In your rookie year, were there any challenges that you faced?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You coming in as a rookie. The speed of the game changed.
Hmm.
You're no longer, a big fish in a small pond. You're a small fish in a big pond.
Right.
And when I came out, that was the era when, guys stayed 4 years. So, you come out, you had to be really special to leave. Like, Isaiah Thomas was special. Magic Johnson, they were special. Larry Bird was special. Everybody didn't just have one good year and go. So when I came to the league, you're playing against grown men with families to feed. So, you had to, the physicality of the game, you had to get caught up with that and the speed of the game. Those were some challenges and some hurdles that I had to overcome. And being able to play with pace and not going because you young, you come out, you going 1,000 miles an hour. Well, the game was going fast, but everybody else is just that's been there is kind of chilling. They going when they have
Mhm.
to go. So I had to learn that. So yeah, those were the challenges for me coming out.
That 95 year, like you said, you played with the Rockets. You guys ended up winning the NBA championship that year as well. Would you speak about like the intensity and the practices, like how speak about a mindset of a championship team? Obviously, you guys was led by the great Hakeem Olajuwon. Would you speak about
Right.
the mindset of a championship team, please?
Yeah, the mindset is you come to work, and you go battle in practice, and you're there to make your teammate better and try to put your teammate in a situation that when it come game time, they've seen it before. So I mean, it was some good, it was some good scrimmages, some good battles, and I can remember, days when Rudy would be like, "All right, guys, that's enough," because it was getting kind of hot in there. So, but it's just like you have to have guys willing to sacrifice, and I think like all of us were good players. We had Max was from University of Florida. Clyde, University of Houston. Dream, University of Houston. Kenny, University of North Carolina. Sam Cassell, Florida State. So all of us came from big time programs, and we're used to being the man on our teams. But now you got to sacrifice. Okay, my role, so my personal role was to rebound. I was probably going to get 5 or 6 shots a game. I had to go 4 for 6 in my shots. So I wasn't going to get a whole lot of shots, but I had to get rebounds, loose balls, play defense. Okay. Dream's job was to score, get us a basket, protect the rim. Clyde's job was to also score.
Mhm.
Mario's job was to play defense. Robert's job was to play defense, loose balls, and be a good weak side defender. Kenny's job was to hit the open three. Sam's job, hit the open three, get us into our offense. So everybody accepted their roles and everybody did their roles. And I think that's the mentality of a championship team. And those teams that wins championships, you can see that, guys that have accepted their role. Because everybody come from big
Mhm.
time universities and everybody's the man. But
Right.
if you want to be the man and just get your numbers in the summer league coming up. You know what I'm saying? But
Hmm.
sacrifice your game, for a bigger cause, I'd say.
Right. And I definitely think that it is important for everybody to understand their role, like you said, just to get to that point of having a winning team.
Right.
With you transitioning to coaching, what is
hmm
something that you've instilled in your players, knowing that you played for a championship team? What is something that you've told them to help possibly get them to win a championship?
Yeah, that's one thing that I preach to them is about accepting your role,
Hmm.
believing in yourself. You know what I'm saying? Trust in your teammate. It's kind of like when you're on a team, it's kind of like a relationship. You know what I'm saying? Because and in order for you to have a good relationship with your teammate, there has to be some trust. Just like on
Hmm.
defense, you have to have trust in your teammate that okay, if I go, this person got my back. You know what I'm saying? Like you're in a relationship. I mean, it's similar to a marriage. You know what I'm saying? But so you don't go to bed at night with the same guy. But you gotta have that type of mentality where it's a relationship where you have to have that trust. So I try to preach trust to my players, and I think it works. And you just have to have belief. And if one guy doesn't believe, the whole thing it's gonna fall apart. It's not gonna work.
Now, being that you played at a predominantly white institution, a PWI, and
hmm
now you're at an HBCU,
hmm
um, what is the culture like over there? Is there any adjustments that you had to make to your style of coaching, maybe?
Um, I don't think so. I don't think I've made any type of adjustments. I think the difference between a HBCU and a PWI, I would definitely say is the crowd. The crowd at a PWI, yeah, they'll call themselves wild,
Uh-huh.
but you go to an HBCU crowd, those crowds are wild.
Oh
So I'm
yeah,
gonna
it's
say that
definitely intense.
I'm gonna say that's the biggest difference. Like, you got the band in there, and the band be
Right.
dancing, and like it's different types of
Hmm.
music. Like you go to PWI, they'll play Game of Thrones. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? You go to HBCU, they're gonna play Earth, Wind, and Fire. So it's gonna be a
Hmm.
difference in the music played by the band, the difference in the atmosphere. Because over at St. Augustine's, where I'm at, the atmosphere is crazy. During
Hmm.
games.
Hmm.
I say that's the biggest difference. But as far as like player wise, I don't think it's a difference as far as the player. I don't think that's a
Okay.
difference at all. I don't think so. Nah.
Going going back to your college career at NC State, played for the great Jimmy
hmm
Valvano, and like you said, the
hmm
recruiting process. A lot of the guys was from the New York area. How important when it comes to recruiting to be able to relate to possible recruits to bring them, you know, to St. Augustine or wherever a college coach may be recruiting from, for mom and dad to feel comfortable about their
Right.
son or daughter, going on to the next level in another coach's hands.
I think it's very important to be able to relate to these kids, or these young men. I listen to I have daughters, so they listen to a lot of today's rap. I grew up on rap, coming up in the '70s. I remember, Melly Mel and Spoonie G and the Treacherous Three, Kumo D, all the old school rap. So I'm kind of like a boom bap rapper, as they say. But they listen to this drill. I think it's called drill rap. So I'll listen to it so I can relate, with the guys, but also so I could argue with them a little bit to tell them, why Jay Z is better than these guys today, why Biggie is better than them. so, so I think it's definitely like you definitely have to relate to them,
Mm-hmm.
because they have to feel comfortable, and have to be able to talk to you about life things too. It's not just going to be basketballs, because as a coach you find yourself being a mentor. You're going to be a father figure. You're going to be somewhat of a brother, because you're going to hear like some strange stories sometimes. I got some knocks on my door and be like, yo, coach, can I talk to you? Like, yeah, come on, what's up? And it'd be some like, whoa, okay. like so like you have to definitely be able to relate to the young men and make them feel comfortable, and you have to let the parents know that, like, this is going to be treated like my kid, or how I would want my kid to be treated. So that's how I try to do it when I'm doing the recruiting.
While you were at NC State, you made first team All ACC in '89, and prior to
Hmm.
getting to NC State, you were selected Mr. North Carolina basketball in 1985 as well.
Hmm.
Speaking and when you got to the NBA, you became an NBA champion as well. So you won, and played at a high level on each level. Would you speak
Right.
about like your focus and the work ethic and things that took in to become Mr. North Carolina basketball, all ACC, especially at that time, the ACC was, man, dominant,
Right. Right.
along with the Big East. So would you speak about your mindset, the work that you put in to accomplish the goals that you did at such a high level?
I think the main thing, like when I was in high school, I was just playing and having fun. I wasn't even thinking about nothing. I think once I went to 5 Star basketball camp. I got an invitation to go to 5 Star, and this is where all of the top players was going. So once I went up there, and like they had, like you had about six, I think it was like 6 guys on the team. One guy was considered the horse, who played all of the minutes. And my coach, I can't remember who it was, but he made me the horse. So, that meant something to me. So as I was out there, I'm playing against all these, top name dudes, and I really didn't know who anybody was. I knew who Rod Strickland was because he's from New York. I'd heard the name in the Bronx and all that, but I didn't know who a lot of these guys were. And I went up there and played well. And when I came back, from 5 Star, they had me like top 50 in the country. And I was like, what? It's like I'm just having fun, you know what I'm saying? So then I was like, okay, I could be pretty good at this. You know what I'm saying? If I put the work in. So I think after coming back from 5 Star, I think I started to like go to the gym a little more, grab a friend to come and rebound for me a little more, work on my game a little more. And I just think that, like I said, after playing against some of the best in the country and, coming out, pretty good, that's what just, made me just feel like I could do it. And that was it. And my mentality was to, just stay in the gym and get better, and, work on the weak areas of my game, which was, my shooting. Because like I said, in New York on the playground, all we did was drive, you know what I'm saying? Because it was too windy out there to shoot the ball, and then we had the double rims too, so you had to really be able to shoot. So I just think that's what made me change my focus, and my mentality was, coming back from 5 Star, because I was just playing for fun, to be honest with
Would you speak about Coach Jimmy Valvano? How was he, as a coach, as a leader, a young man? What made him so special to just people in general? Because everyone loves Coach Jimmy Valvano. Like I said, man, he rests in peace.
Yeah, for me, now everybody didn't have the same experience I had, but for me, I was able to come and talk to him whenever I needed to. He got on me sometimes at practice, but he also let me know when I was doing things good. I think that, the fact that that I was able to just go talk to him, like it was some nights where, back then, um, we had like a little meal plan or whatever. But if I was hungry, I I knew where he lived. I drove over to his house. So I'd be like, "Yo, coach, the calf is closed. I'm hungry." And I can remember him telling his wife Pam at the time, "Hey Pam, fix him something to eat." I go eat, boom, and go back to my room. And it'd be like 10 o'clock at night. And there were times, and I don't know if he didn't like it. He didn't act like he didn't like it, so it was cool. So, but also like I needed shoes one time, and I went over to his house, and he said, "Well, go down, go down." It was like a little closet he had downstairs with shoes in there. So he said, "Go down and get you some shoes." So I mean, I went, and I don't know if I was invading privacy or doing whatever, but he always seemed to take care of me. And like when I went to the pros, I can remember going over to his house. I think it was around All Star break came, and I came back and went to his house to see how he was doing and thank him for everything. And he really seemed concerned about. He asked me questions. It wasn't like oh hey Chuck, oh well look I gotta go. Come back another time. It wasn't like that. He took the time, and I left when I was ready to go. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like I was rushed to leave. And he just listened to me, and I think that's what a lot of people don't do is listen, and he always listened to me, and that just made me feel like he cared. So he always let me think he cared about me, and I think that was the big thing for me.
Okay, now can your players come to your house and do the same thing that you did?
Hey, I don't know. Nah.
What would your wife say if they saw some? If she saw one of your players knocking at your door talking about? Would you say, "Hey, baby, go in there and make me something to eat too"? Make them something to eat.
I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to.
It's good though that you had that relationship with your coach, especially now coaching now. It definitely carried over. And um,
Right.
when you were in college, what is, I guess, one remarkable thing that your coach instilled in you that you carried with you to the game your first year in the NBA?
I think my father always instilled in me to believe in myself. You know what I'm saying? So I always believed in myself. I think one of the things that Coach V always instilled in us, or any of us that came through there, is be a dreamer. You know what I'm saying? Dream big, and never give up on your dream. If you want to, if you want to do something, never give up on it. And I think he says that a lot in the ESPN thing, the never give up thing. I mean, like, we heard it all the time. So it wasn't it wasn't nothing new to us. Like when he did the ESPN speech and everybody got to see him finally, the world got to see him.
Mhm,
That's normal stuff that we saw. So that that wasn't nothing new to us. So
mhm.
I think that's what he instilled in me, is to never give up. And if I have a dream, go after it. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what he instilled in me.
Speaking about the landscape of college basketball now compared to when you
Hmm.
played, the era that you watched, do you like college basketball? Now, obviously, you're coaching college basketball, but would you
Right.
speak about how much college basketball have changed since the time that you played to the college basketball era that you're coaching in now?
Oh yeah, it's changed a lot, man. With the especially like at the D1 level, with the NIL money and all that stuff. The portal has changed all of college basketball. I think that you have to learn how to use that portal. I also think that the portal has also made college basketball sort of a level playing field, um, because a lot of these coaches are going after the older players now. I think the portal has hurt younger players because they're going after the older guys, and the freshmen are maybe having that could have maybe gone to a mid major or a D1 school, they're having to go, maybe to a JUCO or reclassify, as they say, or go to one of those post grad programs. But it's definitely a different landscape. I think, years ago, a lot of times, like the major universities were only getting the good players. I think now with all of the TV stuff, I think that and the social media stuff, I think now you don't have to just go to a major university to be able to achieve where you want to go. So I think that's changed the college landscape. Also, sometimes I also think that, like, now, college coaches have to they can't just lie to a player now because of the portal. You could jump in that portal and bounce. You told me I was gonna do this, you didn't keep your promise. So now I think that, college coaches have to keep their promises to young men. Also, I think, like, we're in more of a sensitive era too. Like, we got yelled at and cussed out, and we didn't take it personal. I think kids today take things a little more personal now. So you got to watch how you talk to them, because they'll shut down on you or they'll jump in the portal and leave. So I think the portal has changed, a lot of college basketball. And I think the landscape has totally changed. Whereas, back in the day, you get your scholarship, you get cussed out, you don't like it there, you might have to stay and stick it out. You know what I'm saying? Because somebody else ain't gonna give you that same deal. Now you could go here and you could not play 4 years, but you can get a college degree, go off and get you a good job. Uh, years ago that could happen, but now, dudes, they, if they don't like it, they jump in, or if they feel like it's too tough, they jump in the portal, and it's a lot of old sayings, like, when the going gets tough, tough get going. That, they don't even want to hear that today. They don't want to hear that. When the going gets tough, I'm jumping in the portal. How about that? You know what I'm saying? So it's a little different. I think that's how the college landscape has changed a lot. Is that portal and the NIL money. And I think that the money that these kids or dudes or young men, women, or whatever, they're able to make off of their own likeness, I think that's a good thing, though, because I think here in America, we don't teach, like, entrepreneurship. We don't teach that. We teach people how to come out and work for somebody. So I think a kid or a young man, young woman, able to negotiate, okay, I want this. If you're going to use my likeness, I want this. That teaches them to be an entrepreneur and work for themselves. So I think that way, in that way, college basketball or whatever college sports has changed for good in that aspect.
So, like, speaking of your players, you work with D1 players. You know, not sure if any have the potential to go to the NBA, but we know professional basketball is always an outlet. You've had the
Hmm.
experience, to deal with negotiations, agents, things to
Hmm.
look for, especially even in recruiting. Have your players come to you for advice? Do you give your players advice, like life after basketball, to be prepared, to be told, knowing things like that?
Oh, yeah, 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 most definitely. Because there was an old saying that Valvano used to have. We didn't understand it then, but I understood it more, like, afterwards. But it's a saying that he had. There comes a day when the cheering stops. There comes a day when somebody's not going to know who you are. So what you have to do is take full advantage. While people know who you are, while those doors are open, you have to take advantage of that. So I give my players that advice. I also give them the advice that, basketball. If playing basketball doesn't work out, there are other things in basketball that you can do. You can be a referee. Referees make six figures. I don't know if these dudes know that, but referees get paid well, and some of them are bad. So I try to give. You could be a sports agent. You can be an announcer. There are many things that you can do inside of basketball too, if the playing part of it doesn't work out.
Now, not only did you play in the NBA, but you also went overseas for a little bit.
Hmm.
It says that you played, what, 3 games in Italy?
Hmm. About
Okay.
that, yeah.
Yep. So the landscape over here versus in Italy, I mean, the different style of playing.
Hmm.
Speak about that.
But when you go overseas, you're a foreigner. So,
Mhm.
so um, I played in Florence, Italy, and the organization that I had gone to was not. I mean, I don't want to badmouth nobody, but I'm gonna say what it is. What it is. Well, it wasn't a good organization, so they were paying late, and so I had a problem with them paying me late. So that's why I ended up leaving. But over there, the play is probably a little more physical, a little rougher. Like over here, like you have guys that, if they drive to the basket, they get sort of signature calls. We used to call them. Like there's a certain move that a guy made that that he probably got fouled, or the officials will say he got fouled, even if he didn't get fouled. Over there, you don't have signature moves. Over there, when you lose, like it's like everybody blames the American. You're at fault. Over here when you lose, they're not going to single out, one guy all the time. I don't notice that um, all the time on a loss, but like over there, I mean that's probably the biggest difference is the physical play. It was a little more physical, and like the lane is a little wider out there over there when I was over in Italy. But I mean, the basketball is basketball. It was still fun basketball to play, but it's just a little more physical. You weren't gonna get like signature calls and stuff like that.
And being that you encountered a few obstacles overseas, such as, like you said, being paid late, for those that are currently going into the NBA or trying to go overseas, what is something that you would encourage them, I guess, to maybe look thoroughly at their contract, have
Hmm.
a agent that knows what they're doing? I mean,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Definitely have an agent that knows what they're doing because I know I could speak on years ago when I signed my contract to go to Italy. When my plane landed, my agent got his money. You know what I'm saying? So he got his
But
paper.
he got
So
his money and you didn't get yours.
and I didn't get mine. He got his, but I didn't get mine.
Mhm.
So definitely, be with an agent that knows what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? And go with your gut. Go with your gut. Go with what you feel. If you don't feel something's right, men have intuition too. I know they say women's intuition and all that, but men have it too.
Right.
So go with your gut. Go with your gut, and definitely know be involved in what you're doing. One of my favorite guys in the NBA is Jalen Brown because he's involved in all of his stuff. You know what I'm saying? So be involved. Don't never be too busy to know about your contract. Don't never be too busy to know the rules. All of the rules. Don't never be too involved with something else. Be involved in your situation and take care of you. So that would be my advice that I would give guys today.
Man, Jalen Brown, I mean, I love to hear you say that you're a huge fan of him. I mean, because I love his impact in the community, in the
Yes,
NBA. He's pushing the envelope, to management and ownership a lot, and I love that
yes.
and respect that about him. Speaking of, athletes being, more vocal, like they told LeBron, shut up and dribble. Would you speak about how important it is for athletes, to be more vocal, to be involved with the community? Speak about issues that may not be brought up about in regular media, but guys like you have a platform to speak about, the ins and outs of the NBA and life in general.
Yeah, I think it's important for guys to speak about the community because most of the guys You come from you come from different communities, but it's pretty much the same stuff going on in the community. So, you leave just because you left the community, you still got family and friends still living in that community. So, I think it's important to speak out about certain issues, but also be educated about those issues. And I just think I think a lot of these people it's a lot of lip service going on. You know what I'm saying? They don't really care. They just want to say like, okay, Black Lives Matter. You haven't seen no more Black Lives Matter on the basketball courts no more because there have been, people pulling sponsorship and all that type of stuff. So I don't think people really care as much as they say, but you still care. So you speak about it, and all money ain't good money. At the end of the day, you know, you're going to be taken care of, and people are going to see that you really care. You know what I'm saying? When others really don't. So I think it's very important. And like the shut up and dribble thing, I thought that was hilarious. That what's the lady name? Ingram. I think her name is Ingram. She said that, but yet they want to talk about you want to talk about sports, guys. Don't talk about sports people then. You know what I'm saying? And everything now, like, okay, years ago, we were told not to read the newspaper. Okay, so there would be things going on. I'll give you a perfect example. I was playing with the Lakers during the LA riots, right? So I heard about Rodney King, of course, but I never heard about Natasha Hollins until later. You know what I'm saying? And that happened around the same time. I never even heard about it because I wasn't reading the paper. I was right there in Inglewood. And I think what Natasha Hollins might have happened, I'm not sure if it was in Compton or where it was, but I was right there in Inglewood. It's all right there. And I never heard about it. Never even heard about it because I wasn't, didn't have social media. Now they have social media. You can get your live news from Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, all you can get live stuff right away. Whereas years ago we couldn't get that. So now you cannot tell a dude, not to pay attention to, what's going on because they're gonna hear it. You could tell them not to read the paper. Okay, cool. Nobody reads the paper no more. Now they read social media. So I
Right.
won't read the paper.
Mm.
So I think it's good that these guys are socially connected because they still have people in those communities that need help. So if you can help somebody, that's what life should be about. Is about helping someone, get out of the situation they're in if it's not a good situation. But they have to want help and do the right things to get that help. Because some people will act like they want help, but then they're not doing the right things. You know what I'm
They don't
saying?
want
So you can't help, and you can't help everybody. You know what I'm saying? So you help those who want to help themselves.
it. Mm-hmm.
Nice. I love that. I love definitely how you put that. And I've always heard that they told, professional players, NBA players, don't read the newspaper, don't read the tabloids and things like that.
Right.
And like you said, I love how you said that. Not reading will keep you misinformed or not informed at all.
Yep.
Um, like right now going on in Houston, this is the second annual HBCU All Star game and event going on this year. Would you speak about how far, HBCU culture has grown in sports, and what more do you feel could be done to highlight, the HBCU culture as a whole?
Um, to be honest with you, man, like I think it's great that it's been highlighted, but it should have been highlighted a long time ago. Also, you know, okay, like okay, I'm cool with the Howards, the Morgans, what's the other one in there? Hampton. I'm cool with them. They're D1 um, HBCUs, and I'm not trying to count anybody's money, but the ones that really need a lot of help are the D2s. I'm at a D2 HBCU, and we don't have great facilities. It's hard for us to. How am I going to get a D1 guy to think about coming to play there when I don't have the facilities for them to get better? You know what I'm saying? So I think that what they could do to really help is spend a little bit more money helping the D2
Mm-hmm.
HBCUs. Because I know, like a friend of mine, Kenny Anderson. Kenny's
Yeah.
over at Fisk University,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he told me they don't even get scholarships. So I'm in a better situation than him because I do get scholarships, but then the facility wise, like office wise, like just like Ed Reed, he came out and blasted who was it? Bethune Cookman. I wouldn't do that, but but you know, he was telling the truth. Like I know when I moved in my office, is the dude previously all his stuff is in there. You know what I'm saying? So what
Mm.
I'm supposed to, that's it should
Like
have been
you're supposed
cleaned
to
out.
clean it out,
Like who's
right?
supposed to? I got to do that too. So you know
Right.
what I'm saying? So I mean, there are a lot of there's a lot of lip service going on, but they need to reach out more to the D2 HBCUs as well. And NBA is $1 billion industry. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure they waste a lot of money in other places where that wasteful money, like for us, if we get to play a D1 for 25,000, they'll give us 25,000. That 25,000 helps us so much. You know what I'm saying? So like over at where I'm at now, the gym has looked the same. I was in college here. I came here in 1985. The gym looks the same in 2023. So
That's
that's a
crazy.
problem. That's a
Right.
problem. You know what I'm saying? Where everybody else is able to upgrade their facilities, there's got to be some way where, okay, some of these corporations, the NBA or whoever, instead of, you do all these HBCU games, cool. How about help some of these places that need help? You know what I'm saying? If you're not doing that, it's all lip service, in my opinion.
This is the Hometown Legends podcast series. Today's special guest is head coach of men's basketball at St. Augustine's College, Mr. Chucky Brown. You brought up Coach Kenny Anderson, yourself, Coach Bonzi Wells, Coach Mo Williams. You guys are at HBCUs coaching basketball right now. And then if you look around, in D1, you have like Penny Hardaway at Memphis, Stackhouse at Vanderbilt, and other coaches as well. Juwan Howard up in Michigan. Would you speak
Hmm.
about now that the culture of coaches is starting to change? The doors, the revolving doors for white coaches is starting to slow up some. Would you speak
Okay.
about how college athletics or basketball is going now, trending? And I hate using that word trending, but you're starting to see more black former players, getting these head coaching positions. Is that a sign of times to come now going forward, you feel?
I think it's changed a little bit, but it needs to change more. I think that, for me personally, before I ended up getting this job here, I was at high school. You know what I'm saying? I've been trying to break in for years as far as the coaching goes, and it seems like, you wouldn't get the opportunity because you were a former player and you played a while. I think that a lot of times, like, you got to look at the decision maker, who's making the decision. So a lot of times, the decision maker, if they feel like um, that you are not going to go along to get along, because we're also in an age where guys just go along with so they can get that check. So you got some guys that are not going to do that. So
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing wrong with disagreeing with somebody. And I think that a lot of times, like, I mean, you look at things change a little bit, but it's not changed enough, in my opinion. There needs to be. Me personally think that former players, and not every don't get me wrong, not every former player is built to coach. All right, but I think
Mm-hmm.
like former players should get first dibs on these coaching positions, and then you find out if they can't coach. And if they can't coach, get them out of there. You know what I'm saying? Whereas now you have guys, and nothing against the managers, nothing against the team managers. Don't get me wrong, but it seems like they get the opportunity first instead of a guy that's done it. So
Mm-hmm.
I do have an issue with that. I'm 55 now. I'm maybe 5 more years and I'm done. So I'm gonna say what I want to say, and people may not like it. Too bad, but it's the truth. You know what I'm saying? I
Mm-hmm.
think that a lot of time, like, okay, for years, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was trying to coach. Right now, granted, Kareem didn't help himself because Kareem ain't the easiest guy to get along with, easiest guy to talk to. But his basketball knowledge
Right.
is unmatched. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? And he was coaching in like the USBL or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Whereas you can't tell me that a NBA guy couldn't use his knowledge. You know what I mean? So I just think that it's changed a little bit, but you look where like guys have to get in. I mean, look at Stackhouse's path to get where he is. You know what I'm saying? Look at the path he had to take, to compare to some guys who step in and get these ready-made jobs and they may have been an assistant. And an assistant at the NBA level ain't putting in the same kind of work that a high school coach is putting in, that a D2 college coach is putting in. I mean, yeah, you're putting in some work, but you're not putting in the same kind. It's not the same kind of grind. You know what I mean? So, I mean, if people can disagree with it, I'd be more than happy to discuss with them uh, why it's different. But I think it's
Right.
changed, but it ain't changed enough, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion.
Now, if a former player is trying to coach at the next level, what are some things that you think that the coach needs to do in order to prepare himself or just to get to that level?
To be honest with you, it's all about relationships.
Okay.
It's just like a corporate job. It's all about relationships. If every job that I got, I knew somebody. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? I had guys. I went to guys that have they will remain nameless, but I went to guys and they said, "Yeah, you know, you got a great basketball resume, blah blah blah. I know you, but I don't know you." And that's what I was told. So it's all about relationships. It's all about networking, and that's how you're going to get these jobs. And I think what it was somebody who told me one time. It's not what you know, but who you know.
You know.
And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's not what you know, not who you know. And what was the other one? It's like it's like what you do can keep you. I can't remember that exact saying, but it's not what you know. It's not what you know, but it's who you know, and that's a fact. And people can say that it's not all day long, but it's the truth. Let's be honest here. We're adults. We can deal with the truth.
Right. I mean, networking is definitely always going to propel you to the next level and
Oh
establish
yeah.
relationships with people for sure.
Mr. Brown, we have a couple minutes left here today. And
Okay.
like I said, we appreciate you taking time out of your day, sir, so that we can bring you here on the Hometown Legends podcast and highlight you and appreciate and thank you for your many contributions, not only to the sport of basketball, but to the culture as well. Like you said, you're impacting young men's lives, and who else knows who lives you're impacting as well? That's not even on the basketball court. In your closing words, what information, what would you like to say to aspiring athletes or just to the culture in general?
I would say most definitely, get your schoolwork right. I went back to college and got my degree. Get your schoolwork, and there are going to be sacrifices that you have to make that others don't have to make. So, I was never a big club guy. Excuse me. So, the club is going to be there. The club is still there. I have no. I mean, when I was 40, I didn't want to go to the club because I already done my thing. I sacrificed that. So that's going to be there. The partying is going to be there. You know what I'm saying? What's not going to be there is your opportunity
Mm-hmm.
to do this because you can't do this forever. The club going to be there forever. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But your opportunity to do. Hello, you still there? Okay, the phone rang. But anyway, but I would say, um, you know, sacrifice and take advantage of your opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
Sacrifice and take advantage of the opportunities. That's
Yes.
definitely key, great advice and information because, like you said, these opportunities or those opportunities will not last long. They will not be around forever. Players is always gunning for your spot and things of that nature.
Yep.
So take full advantage of your opportunity and make the best of it.
Yep. That's right. That's right.
Uh,
Take advantage of opportunities.
Last words. Speak about your university, your basketball program, and what should we look for and anticipate from your program, sir?
I think that what you can look for from us is always going to be hard play. Um, Young men that are going to be respectable, be respectful, um, and just guys that are. I'm going to push graduation, of course. And like I tell my guys, this is a big picture for me. I want to 10 years from now be invited to their wedding. They didn't want to hear the word wedding, but it's gonna happen.
Right.
It's gonna happen. So I just try to tell you, this is big picture. I want to be there for you outside of basketball. So you're gonna see some guys that play together, and we're gonna be a very successful program because we're gonna have good people.
Right. I like that. Well, on behalf of the Hometown Legends podcast series and U.S. Elite Basketball, Mello and we want to thank you for joining us, Coach Chucky Brown, for joining us on the Hometown Legends podcast series today.
All right. Well, I want to thank you all for having me.
Most definitely. We appreciate you, sir, and continue blessings to you and your family as well.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. This is another episode of the Hometown Legends podcast series. Today's special guest is head coach of men's basketball at St. Augustine College, Mr. Chucky Brown. Everyone continue being the difference that you want to see in the world and continue blessings.
Right.